But also give you guys some TED Talk style presentations. Then you're going to hear from our amazing P1 teacher, Rashad Brown. So he has taught in Maynard Jackson High School since 2022-2023 school year. He became one of the first 60 schools piloting the course. He's an AP African American Studies teacher, but he also delivers professional development to our AP AFM teachers, new teachers, during our AP Summer Institute, which is a heavy lift. And then on top of that, because he's like, why not add more? He's also an AP reader where he scores AP African American Studies exams.
Isn't it strange that princes and kings and clowns that caper in sawdust rings and common people like you and me are builders for eternity? Each is given a bag of tools, a shapeless mass, a book of rules, and each must make ere life is flown a stumbling block or a stepping stone. I am Rashad Brown, a graduate of the Florida A&M Agricultural and Mechanical University, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here with you all today. Today, my topic is going to be talking about topic 315, Black History and Education in African American Studies. This talks about basically the new Negro movement. Now, history is not just an event in the past. It's a story that's alive and well in all of us. We don't just study history, we carry it, we challenge it, and we write its next chapter. When we look at this particular topic, our learning objectives are so very interesting. And I wanted to really share this CED, our course, so that you can actually see what our students have access to and what our students learn. This particular objective talks about explaining why the new Negro movement, which included writers, artists, and educators, strove to research and disseminate Black history to Black students. All right. Some of our essential knowledge includes the new Negro movement included writers, artists, educators who believed that the United States schools reinforced the idea that Black people had no meaningful cultural contributions and were thus inferior. They urged African Americans to become agents of their own education. And this is going to be important to 2025, right? They urged African Americans to become agents of their own education, to study the history and experiences of Black people to inform their future advancement. Now, this was almost 100 years ago, approximately 100 years ago. And now 100 years later, what do we see happening? We see legislation that really kind of counters that, right? We see threats of federal funding being restricted, right? That directly threaten this particular type of objective, right? Moving forward, we see that artists, writers, and intellectuals of the Negro movement refuted the idea that African Americans were people without a history or a culture, and they created a body of literature and educational resources to show otherwise. This is why what Dr. Waters showed earlier is so important. We can see what happens when we give our students access to this type of knowledge, this type of education, this type of wisdom. What can truly happen? And we see that they really resonate towards it, that they really grasp or want to know it. I want you to really think about something. The ink of history is still wet. How will you all leave your mark? Any educators in the building? We're going to have our opportunity to educate, right? Any writers in the building? Any writers? You're going to have a lot to write about. There's a lot to write about right now, right? I'm sure you can find a topic, right? Just throwing that out there. Any activists? Now we know, Lord, Jesus. We definitely gonna need some of that, right? We're going to need some archivists. We're going to need some civil rights leaders. We're going to need some lawyers and some legal analysis, right? You know where we're going, right? You know that the funding's going to be threatened, right? You know that the Department of Education is under attack, right? We know that out of all the courses that are available, there's really only one that really kind of ruffles some feathers. And it's ironic that it was already mentioned in our course and exam description. I just found that absolutely astounding. That 100 years ago, they recognized that the educators, the writers, the activists, the civil rights leaders, the lawyers, the journalists, and everybody's going to have to come together to dispel myths and stereotypes, to educate our children about their history. They gave us the blueprint 100 years ago. So in 2025, it looks like there's going to have to be a renewed new Negro movement, a renewed movement to include a diverse group and diverse population to give our students access to the wisdom and the course that they needed. Now, sometimes the circumstance of chance kind of just thrusts you into a situation. I am sitting at my house this summer, okay? A week before school, all of a sudden I wake up, there are 100 phone calls missing and 200 text messages. I'm from the state of Georgia. I said, well, what is going on? Now, what's interesting about this, the Georgia superintendent labeled African American Studies, the course, illegal. And we said, what? The week before school. Now, this is the most hilarious part. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution had already come to my class to view the class and give interviews to the students. So did the USA Today, so did Fox 5, so did so many outlets. So when they printed this article, it actually had my face all on the article. So I was like, well, wait a minute, Lord, I didn't even do nothing. What is going on? I didn't say that. Rashad, you can't teach black histories no more. That's what they said. Why they won't let you teach the black histories no more? I said, well, I don't know why they won't let us teach black. I don't know. So I went and I thought about it. I said, well, clearly something has to be done. So we wrote an op-ed in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution advocating to allow all schools to offer African American studies. This is on the front page. So now they have me juxtaposed to the Georgia State Superintendent saying, you need to let all teachers teach African American studies. They said, Rashad, you gonna talk like that in the papers? I said, well, what you want me to do? It's the week before school. Who thought that this was gonna be coming down the pike? Somebody has to say something, and our students deserve it. We just saw what this young scholar just did. Phenomenal, right? And he highlighted the importance of Unit 1, understanding that ancient history. Not that we start at slaves, that we have a rich history that predates slavery. That deserves advocacy. That deserves somebody to stand up for it. That deserves the new modern movement. So, again, Rashad, well, why don't you come down to the Capitol and say a few words? Huh? What? For what? Why? Well, now the Democratic lawmakers are going to suggest policy changes. Now you got the ACLU stepping in. Now you have the NAACP stepping in. Now you got the same people who are in RCED stepping in. So the curriculum is being brought alive in modern day, right? But this is the thing. That's not easy. President John F. Kennedy said, we choose to climb the highest mountain. We choose to go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Dr. King said, oh, there's going to be some difficult days ahead, but I have a dream, right? Barack Obama, hope, change you can believe in. And these are the things and the mantras that kind of stick in our minds. So this is kind of just a quick little summary of what happened. And the answer is very simple. Our public servants are here to serve the people of Georgia. And if the superintendent of Georgia is unwilling to act in the best interest of our students, we are happy to lead a coalition to identify a replacement. So there were multiple calls from a large coalition of people and lawmakers in the NAACP and the ACLU to really urge the Georgia State Superintendent to reconsider his position before we reconsider it for him. Because this is an elected position and he's supposed to serve in the best interest of all Georgians and all students. And if he can't do so, we need to find a replacement immediately.
You taught.
They say, Rashad! Did you go on CNN and tell that man to resign? How you gonna do that? I said, I didn't tell him to resign. I said, I told him, you need to act in the best interest of students. This is an elected position. And if you need to reconsider your position, we may need to reconsider your position. Right? This is what our course is about. Our course teaches our students about advocacy. Our course teaches our students about their history, about the political process, about individuals who stand up for their rights. So in conclusion, we had the last thing. And it's breaking, okay? Effective immediately. Anyone who teaches anything about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, may have their federal funding removed. Okay? Not gonna have it. Not gonna do it, okay? But then you end up reinstating funding for HBCU scholarships after pressure. And so I wanted to put those two articles to conclude, juxtaposed next to each other, that there's gonna be some difficult days ahead. But with advocacy, with fighting and standing up for what's right, doing what John Lewis says, getting that good trouble, the good trouble now, not the bad trouble, the good trouble, that change can happen. Because, as John F. Kennedy said, we choose to do what we choose to do. We choose to climb that highest mountain. We choose to go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it is hard. And there are going to be some difficult days ahead. But we must still dream. And with that, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you so much for this opportunity.